So tell me, how has it been embracing the idea of being a fifth line? Like as you understand it, like has that, for those who are new to human design, the fifth line is known as the heretic / savior because they're this karmic mirror, and we tend to see in you or any fifth line being the lesson and wound that we need to see for us to grow and change and heal. And so we project a story onto you to see what we need to see in a way that a lot of times fifth lines feel like no matter what they do, there are certain people who just always think they're this way, or there's all these people who have these high expectations of them, like, certain people who just think you're going to always be the one who fixes everything, like at work. Are you the one that everyone thinks is going to solve all the problems? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm just wondering how that's played out for you, or if you reflected on that.
Again, I think it probably showed up in ways that were could have been more beneficial for me. So people saw me capable of something, but I didn't think I was, but because of the other things,
Right.
Because of the other reasons, which I guess would be the conundrum, right? But so the interesting thing about the 5 is, like, I'm still learning and leaning into what that is. So I just realized that I'm surrounded by 5s. My mom's a 5, my father is a 5, my daughter is a 5. So we all have.
Your nodes are fifth line, so that makes sense.
We all have 5 in our profiles. I got it in the sense of people seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself, right? But then also, I think where I experienced it maybe in a negative way was more in my earlier young adult years in my dating life. Kind of like the people that I ended up in relationships with. And, they say with the 5, you attract people who see in you what they need to heal in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I used to see the better part of them, and they weren't there yet. And then they would end up being some kind of way, and I would wonder why. I'm like, why do they see me that way? That's not even what I think I'm projecting to them, or that's not what I think I'm showing them. But I assume it was something that they needed to heal within themselves, because I felt like I was being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Or not being seen for what I thought I was really bringing to the table, So that's how I'm seeing it now. But in relationship now, I've been noticing it with me and my mom, with the stories that we put on one another.
What'd you say she was again? I think you just said it, but
she's a 5-1, I think.
Okay, that's what my husband is.
She's a 5-1, and I see where she can grow. Like, I see the better parts, but she has this limitation thing, and we both get frustrated because then she has this idea of what I think an ideal daughter should be doing, just based on this mother-daughter relationship. And I think it's based on nothing but maybe the relationship she had with her mother. And I had to tell her, I don't even know the script to this story that you have. So
yeah.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't know if I want to do it, if I knew what to do. Like, I said, listen, I don't know who she is. I'm not her. I don't have the script. She was so shocked. She was like, oh, well.
Yeah. That's bold. That's hard to do sometimes, though, but we got to do it, right?
Yeah. And I said, I just wanted to be, I'm just like, listen, I don't think I'm being horrible as a daughter, but I'm being myself. Like, I'm just learning who this real me is, and I'm taking all the opportunity in the world to be her. And
Right.
that may look a different way to you, and you may not get what you want, or the attention, or the response to your text messages, or how many phone calls you think I should give you, and you may not get that, and I'm sorry.
Right.
I love you.
Right.
But I am going to experience this evolution of who I am inside and be all that I can be.
Right. Yeah. Well, that, we kind of have this thing as parents, right? You have a son, right?
I have a
No,
daughter.
daughter. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry you have a daughter. I'm sorry that I forgot. Although I don't know, sometimes I might be sorry. I don't know.
I have a daughter and a grandson. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm remembering is your grandson. Okay. Yeah, and I always think you're like 25, so it always scares me. I don't know, you just look so much younger than me. And so okay, but I had to really come to this thing, and I did this through understanding my daughter's human design. And I had to come to this thing where I really realized that her story, it's not mine to tell. It's not mine to, even though I'm a projector who's here to guide, I'm not here to guide her unless she wants me to. I gave birth to her. I fed her and clothed her, and I was meant to do all those things. But she's here to decide how her life is going to go, right? And what it's going to be. And so much of our conditioning in society as women is to get our worth from the story of what sort of child we raised, right? So we have these ideas because this is how we're going to find our value, is through our relationships in a lot of cases, right? And luckily you and I have defined identity centers. It makes it a little bit easier. But if your mother, for example, has an open identity center, it's even more likely that she's finding her value through that open, through that role. And it's hard when all of a sudden you don't get to say who your child is going to be, when you thought that's what your whole point on this earth was, right? How am I going to find my value through this child who, by me raising this great adult, I can now say I did something worth. Because I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think what also happens is, we all have a perspective, and we see life through that perspective. And that looks like right, and so anything that anybody does outside of that, some people, it's just like, I just don't see how you could not think what I'm thinking, and that sometimes, the dilemma is we don't see that people have the right to exist as they are until and if they grow into, the better version of themselves.
And who's to say what that is? Like, we all think we know what the better version of someone is, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And so that's why you can't see my shirt, but I have this new t-shirt that I made that says,
Here, show us. Stand up.
Let her exist.
Oh, I love that.
Let her exist is my motto. Is let yourself be who you are until you do the natural evolution of who you're growing into.